This is Unit 7, Lesson 10. Today we're going to discuss passing of time. Your learning targets are: I can recognize hours and minutes on a clock face. I can read and write time using analog and digital clocks. And I can calculate elapsed time and convert units of time. Alright, so before we get started, let's just look at a clock. So we have a couple of different things on a clock. We have our numbers, and then we have our hands. The little hand right here, this is our hour hand. It's the little one. The long hand, this is our minute hand. The little red one, that's your seconds. Okay, this clock looks very similar to the one that we see on our board. When we count minutes, 12 o'clock is 0, 1 o'clock is 5 minutes, 2 is 10 minutes, 3 is 15, 20, 25, 30. We count by fives going all the way around the clock. Okay, then there are also tiny little tick marks that are in between these lines. So this would be 12:01, 02, 03, 04, and then 05. And then you'd see 4 more. 05, 06, 06, 07, 08, 09, 10. And then you'd see 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Okay? So, now that we know or reviewed how to tell time, if I wanted to know what time this was, I would look and I'd see, okay, my hour hand, which is the little hand, is pointing to 10, and my minute hand is pointing to 12, which is 0. So I know that it is 10 o'clock. Okay, let's try one more. So if I have my hand over here and I move this hand, it's pointing directly to the 3. So my hour is 3 hours, and my minutes is pointing to the 10, which I can see right here is 50 minutes. Now, if I didn't have that 50 there, I'd have to count 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. So it is currently 3:50. Alright, let's look one more time. Alright, so now if I move my hands, I really have to be careful at which one I'm looking at. So the short hand is the one I look at first. So my short hand is pointing to the 1, so I have 1 o'clock, and the big hand is pointing to the 7, which is 35. Okay, when our clock is not exactly on the 1 though, our little hand should move. So when your minute hand gets closer to this side, anywhere between the 12 and the 6, your minute hand or your hour hand is going to get close to that number. So if it's exactly 1:30, that's halfway between 1 and 2 o'clock. So my hour hand is going to be directly in the middle. Now if it was 1, let's get rid of that. If it was 1:55, which is really close to 2 o'clock, My hour hand is going to be almost fit to that 2, but not quite. It is still considered 1 o'clock though because it's not quite to that 2. It's a little bit before that 2. So that's 1:55. So let's see. If my hour hand is on the 5, or my minute hand's on the 5, what time would this be? Well, I extend my hour hand to see. Okay, it's in between the 11 and the 12, so it's going to be 11. And then I have the minute hand, which is on 25. So it's 11:25. So just pay attention to where that is. Okay, so we can also have the minute hand, which might not be exactly on a large bold number. Our minute hand might be somewhere like this. So to tell that time, I still have 11 o'clock, but now we have 11:10, 11:12. So this would be 11:12, so that if I have exact minutes. If the minute hand is between, you have to find the exact minutes. All right, let's take a look at our first page, just page 307. An analog clock has a shorter hour hand, and a longer minute hand. We already discussed which hand is which, and the clockwise direction goes this way. Okay, so this would be our small hand, that would be our hour hand, and this one would be our minute hand because it's the long one. So if we are looking at the clocks, 4, 3, 4, and 5, they want us to write the times. So number 3, my hour hand is pointing to the 3, so it is 3. And my minute hand is pointing to the 2, exactly to the 2, so 5:10. So the time on here would be 3:10. All right, go ahead and see if you can do 4 and 5 on your own. Next, it says a digital clock shows the hours and minutes with numbers. On a separate sheet of paper, so on scratch sheet of paper, draw an analog clock to show the time on the digital clock. So we need to make our own clock that shows 9:30. So I'm going to add, you're going to do this on your scratch sheet of paper. So I have a clock. It's easiest to write your 12, 3, 6, and 9 first, and then go back to write your 1, 2, okay, and I had to write the time 9:30. So my minute hand, or my hour hand, is first, and that's the small hand. Okay, and then my minute hand has to go to 30. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. So that goes straight down towards the 6. So that's showing 9:30. Make sure that when you draw your hands, you can tell the difference between the hour hand and the minute hand. All right, next you're going to draw the analog clocks for 11:45 and 3 o'clock. All right. Number 9 says, what does a digital clock usually tell us that an analog clock does not? Well, if you look at these clocks, oops, change my color so you can see my circles. These clocks show our AMs and our PMs. All right, digital clocks show for the clocks shown in exercises 3, 4, and 5 in the space below. So you're going to draw the times that you came up with for these clocks above. So my first one is 3:10, so I'm going to draw my digital clock, and I'm going to write 3, or this would say 03:10. Alright, so you're going to continue to draw your clocks for 4 and 5, your digital clocks. Alright, when you get to this point in the video, I'm going to have you pause and work on IXL until we'll work on this part together.